a lot of missing people you don't hear about. Like, you never hear about them. Like, there's probably quite a few people of all ages that went missing today, yesterday, and we'll never know about them. So much fuss about Madeline McCann, so much fuss about Nicola Bulley. But Nicola Bulley, like why her? I still don't, to this day, get why there was so much attention around.
I don't know if there's
that
like
case.
an element, because she was such like a beautiful woman, and I know this sounds bizarre, but I do think it happens. I think the media have this sort of like power where if they have, like, Madeline was a beautiful young little girl, she was a gorgeous little thing. So I don't know if they sort of play on that sometimes as well. I
It's
think
possible.
it's that sort of attention thing, isn't it? Because, pretty blonde woman, and she, like, obviously she had a really nice job, Nicola Bulley. She was like was a mortgage advisor, and
Something like that, yeah.
yeah, and she had like young kids, and she had like a sort of typical life in a happy relationship as far as we're aware. So I don't know if it was that thing where people connected with her story because their lives were perhaps quite similar, like a working mum type thing. But I don't know if there's that element of like, because she was like pretty, and it's like,
It's a
I don't
good
know.
point.
I don't know if that sounds weird, but I
It
think,
doesn't
what
sound
if she
weird.
was
It
some
doesn't.
sort of like scatty looking woman? Like, imagine that Caroline, she was like a sex. They wouldn't cover stories like that because they don't. I feel like people don't care. It's almost like they wanted people to care and worry. And then it's that sort of thread, then it just keeps going and going. And I was obsessed with it. I was like, oh my God, like, she just went for a walk and she just vanished. And that's how I come across your channel then, because you were doing
Through the Nicola
videos.
Bulley stuff.
Yeah.
What
And
do you think
I was
happened to Nicola
obsessed.
Bulley?
What do I think happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a couple of possible theories. I think there was something going on with Paul in relation to his family and something to do with the police,
Okay.
because there was a bit of history there between his family, I think, from what people have shared. And I don't know if there was some sort of debt that had to be paid, because in his finances there was open and closed businesses and things like that. It was just really bizarre. So I
Mm.
don't know if there's an element to that. But then there's also the theory that perhaps he could have been cheating with her friend, and that
Emma.
Emma, yeah, because her behaviour was seen as quite bizarre or unusual. And there's theories that it was actually like Emma in the footage when Nicola's going to the car.
I think that's kind of a reach. It's an American channel that was doing a lot about that. I won't name the channel just in case they don't want to be mentioned. But
I
it's an
know who you're
American
talking
channel.
about, though.
Yeah, yeah. That guy. He made me laugh because um, he didn't. He wasn't backwards and coming forwards with what he thought, but he was quite out there in naming names, certain police
Yeah,
officers' names,
yeah,
and
brave.
yeah, well, brave. But it's very easy to be brave when you've got the Atlantic Ocean in between.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas I live in just outside of Manchester, but it's Cheshire. Cheshire borders Lancashire, so
Yeah.
you
Gotta be
don't start.
careful where you're stepping. And
Well, you just don't start naming or accusing police officers or senior people, or you know what I mean. Like, it's quite. But if you've got an ocean between you, then I suppose crack
yeah.
on. But yeah, back to that footage. I just think it's a reach, personally. However,
I believe it's her. I believe it is Nicola in that footage. But when people share theories and they do all this investigating, and then people are editing, they got this sort of software that can like zoom in and looking at their nose shape and stuff. And then you're like,
yeah,
oh, it's kind of weird. And then you're like, oh yeah, but maybe what if? And I guess the idea is you sort of question the narrative. But I think personally, though, my actual theory of Nicola is I think that she was possibly stalked by someone who was obsessed with her, and
possibly.
I think they tried to abduct her and it went wrong. I believe that she was kept somewhere. I don't know for how long, but somewhere in some sort of building hut shed thing. And then the person panicked and then they put her in the back in the water. Or I don't even think she went in the water first. I think she was thrown in the water. That's what I think
Okay.
happened.
I've obviously done that much on it. At first, before I did any work with Peter Falding, because the whole business about like the police couldn't find her, no search and rescue could find her in the river at the time, whether it's believed or not. Peter Falding and SGI couldn't find her, and then suddenly on the 19th of February 2023, she's found. I was adamant she'd been put back. I was adamant, and then obviously doing work with Peter Falding and things that we've spoken about, things that I've learned, I believe that she was in there the whole time. Now, how she got in there, I certainly don't think she took her own life. Like, not for an instant. What still gets me is the fact that Willow wasn't going between the river and the bench. Willow was going between the bench and the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if she went in at the bench, however she went in, then Willow would have been near the water, between the bench and the water, because that would have been the little movement, the path, if you will. But Willow wasn't. She was going between that gate, so I don't think she went in at the bench either. I don't think she took her own life. I do believe foul play.
Mm-hmm. I do believe that, yeah.
I don't think she fell. I don't think that she took her own life. I think it's foul play. But who and why and you know, yeah, and the screams that were heard as well, which were at the inquest, screams that weren't of an. I'm paraphrasing. Screams that weren't of an alarming nature. I mean, what scream isn't alarming? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like saying, "Oh, it was a laugh. Somebody laughed in an alarming way." I mean, who would, if someone's laughing, not in an alarming way? Do you know what I mean? To see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was never kind of. Yeah, that whole inquest was. Did you watch that video about the inquest that I did?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really frustrating as well because I think where the police had like done their work to a certain point, they couldn't backtrack. They couldn't amend anything that had already been said. So it was almost like they had to follow through with their initial suggestions as to what happened. And I'd love to be a detective, and I think I'd be a phenomenal one. Just saying. But if I was, you're meant to sort of think of all the theories first. And it's like those sort of 5W questions: who, what, when, where, why, I think it is, or something like that. And you sort of work backwards on it, you trace it back. So to come up with a theory so quick, they didn't help themselves because it made it look like they had something to hide. And then that's why people started coming up with their own theories and suggestions. And then I don't think they were wholly honest with a lot of things, like through the whole process. So in my head, I kind of just switched off from what they were saying. I didn't believe them, to be honest.
They, like I said in the interview with Peter Falding, the not making it a crime scene and kind of going with we believe that she is in the river. The team's called the Willow, not running between the water and the bench, and all these anomalies and these strange circumstances about it. It didn't help with everybody theorizing about what had happened. So it felt like we, the people, it was like we were almost, they wanted us to talk about it. They wanted us to theorize about it, but then come out and say, stop theorizing about it, stop talking about it. Well, it doesn't feel like that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know if we'll ever find out what happened to Nicola Bulley. At least she actually was found. Let's keep it kind of on the missing people kind of thing. Like Keith Bennett, like never been found, never will be found.
It's sad.
Have the occasional message with his brother Alan, just a few messages, and just I'll just say it now. Actually, while I've got the chance, because I know a lad that he goes up to the moors and he metal detects, and he's a nice guy and stuff, and he goes up with metal detects and he wants to try and find Keith. A lot of people do want to try and find him. Alan doesn't want people to search up there because what can actually happen is if you start digging or putting holes in, or if you start moving earth around, because it's 60 years now, that you could potentially be moving a bit of that body, moving it a little bit. It could be all over the show. So just for Alan, for anyone that does go up to the moors trying to look for Keith, like I know you're trying to do a nice thing in that, but leave it to Alan and his team. They've got a good search team out there. They know what they're doing, and he doesn't actually want people to be doing that. It's not really helping, although he knows that you are trying to help.
Who owns that part of land then? Is it like local authority or is it privately owned? Or
I believe that there's like some kind of farmer or something that owns the land. I'm assuming, though you should never really assume, I'm assuming that Alan and his team are just free range to go there. I know that a couple of people that have been up there to certain sites, there's certain parts of the moors that are just free and open to go up, Like when I did filming there's locations where it's just public, but there's certain fields and stuff that are owned by farmers. But there's a thing with that as well. Like Terry Kilbride, he had a bit of a theory, and he's allowed to have a strong theory because his brother was sadly one of the victims. Now, Leslie Ann and Pauline Reed were on one side of a road, very not far off the road actually, and John, his brother, was a similar distance on the other side. So he believes that Keith should or would be in that kind of similar area, but there's nothing to say that Keith is even up there at all. And one thing that Brady did say, such a scumbag, he said, "I know, you don't know, you want to know, and I won't tell you." How sick.
I remember that in the documentary.
It's pretty messed up, isn't it?
That's evil, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I do believe that if Myra, although her death was celebrated by the Kilbride family, at least probably all the families, I do believe that if she may have outlived him, and he died in 2017, if she would have outlived him, I think she may have cracked.
Yeah.
And said where he was. But yeah, I just don't think he'll ever be found, which is a real shame. So let's go to your channel. So Missing Mysteries. I'm going to come on to yours. You want to ask me a few things about this, that, and the other on there, don't you?
I'm going to interrogate you.
It'll be.
Are you prepared?
No. It would. No, do you know what? It would be nice to, like, when I put the post out about collabing. Although this isn't like a classic collab kind of, I suppose, I don't know, is it or isn't it? Who knows what it is? But I suppose we do a video on mine and a video on yours kind of thing. I wanted to just take a back seat, be a bystander, let someone else just run the video and just kind of be involved, but not have to do all the work. Not have to like do all the prep and all that kind of stuff, just being brutally honest. But then as soon as you told me about your abduction, I was like, right, well, we have to make a video about that. When we spoke about me going on your channel, you were keen to talk about some of the missing people. Obviously, with your missing mysteries, you're going to talk about some of the missing people that I've like kind of covered. So we've got now, then we've got again to bring the case up again. The Moors murders, Nicola Bulley. So those are the two, really. Maddie McCann videos, fresh. So you can just, ask me. It'd be good to be on the other side of the table, I suppose. I've said what I think about Nicola Bulley. I think foul play. Don't know who, don't know why, don't know when. I'm not even going to theorise about kind of family backgrounds and stuff like that because I've not dived into it as much as you might even think with background stuff. Maddie McCann. I'm on the theory of she died by accident. I believe she died by accident. I don't believe for a moment that she was purposely killed by her parents. I can't fathom it. Like, why? I know we've got, like, it has happened in life. Like, Chris Watts killed his little girl, didn't he? Like, it does happen. Don't see it with, you don't really see it. If you look at Chris Watts, you don't see it, like, until you hear the confession. There's a video in here, by the way, about how the FBI and the CBI, especially Agent Tammy Lee, she broke down Chris Watts. And without her, I don't think he would have confessed. So that video's on here as well. But yeah, I don't think that for a second that they purposely killed her. But I think that she was possibly sedated so they could go and have a drink. They were both doctors, obviously. And accidentally died and was found, if that's true. And obviously then her body must have on that theory been gotten rid of. I'll leave that theory with John Wedger, who's got experience on it. I'm not going to go into theorizing why they got rid of the body, but someone like him who's worked with somebody who went out there, he's got more knowledge and experience than I have. But yeah, I don't think she was killed. I don't think Nicola Bulley took her own life either, to be honest with you.
I agree with you on both of those. I found it interesting when John mentioned that perhaps Madeline was dead like maybe 24 hours before. And that would have given him time to sort of come up with a plan and stuff. And I'd never come across that theory before. And I thought that was quite interesting because when you think about 24 hours, it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but you can do a lot in 24 hours. There is a lot that can be done. You can travel far. You can do a lot of things. You can hide a lot of things. So that kind of got me, when he said that, I was literally like, oh my God, like no one's ever mentioned that before. Like, it's quite interesting, but I think at the same time, like anything's possible, isn't it? I think, he's a man who's got a lot of knowledge and experience, and to hear theories or, possible things that could have happened from someone in that position I just find it really interesting.
This is the officer that interviewed Baby P's mum. And without his work, there may have been other colleagues involved and stuff, but I know that he was directly involved. He said it in the interview about Maddie McCann. Yeah. He interviewed her, and let her let the narcissist take control. Let them be in control. And then you jump in with the challenge kind of thing. And without his work, who knows if she would have cracked or what she would have revealed, or if we would have found out the truth about what was going on with Baby P.